How you living? Unseen Inquisitor here with another Strike Showcase. This time on a hero level Nightfall, we are looking at the Corrupted Strike from the Dreaming City, where we have to save Sadia by shooting and beating her up with abilities. That's how you save things in Destiny. I didn't make the rules. So I'm bringing an Arc Hunter to this because I haven't done a showcase with my Hunter yet. And it's Arc Surge, so Arc Hunter. This is actually going to be the Batman build that I talked about in New Like Basics, but in its kind of more endgame iteration with Assassin's Cowl and such. It's predominantly a take and strike, though we have a little bit of score in the beginning, and we're going to have some hive throughout the middle. It's going to be Overload Unstoppable Champions for this particular Nightfall. And being Seasonally Deep, I have Overload Trace Rifle, Unstoppable Hand Cannon, I'm running Leviathan's Breath, which is also unstoppable, and Blind and Jolt deals with Unstoppable and Overload Champions, so I have plenty of stun capability, and just having a good time. So this strike is somewhat polarizing for players. Most people I know, whenever this strike is played, it's kind of like a slight eye roll, a slight sigh, and it's like, alright. This strike had a period of time in match-made stuff, so just like the Vanguard playlist or in Nightfall playlists like this, where it was painful because a lot of the player base, it seemed, just didn't understand what to do with the relic in the elevator section, but it seems to have gotten better, and the fire team I match-made with knows what to do with the relic, so that's pretty good. This section used to have enemies in it. I think it's been cleared out. I don't know if it is permanently or just it depends on the rotation. And the rotation for the Nightfall has no enemies in it. I don't know. So this is the elevator section. In this section, we kill the Scions, and then we can activate it at any time, but typically you kill them first. We activate the elevator, more or less. And then we have a situation where invulnerable enemies will spawn in, the whole white shield around them. The relics deal damage to those shields. You can pick it up and throw it right at them to do some damage, or you can pick it up and throw the relic to a teammate and it charges up the relic. It's that concept that people seem to struggle with, and sometimes the very concept of what to do with a relic. Now, as you see, the relic doesn't have the best tracking at times. My throw was off. I thought he was going to move forward, but even still, sometimes it'll just whiff on you. So there it is. I got it. Boom, hit the target. And not only do the relics drop the shields, but they'll do some damage to the target. If you're quick on the second phase with a charged up relic throw, they all spawn in close together and you can drop all their shields in one throw. We don't get that here, so we kind of have to do an improvise. For whatever reason, I've seen players just unload power weapons into these shields. I've seen players use a super on the shield, and it's not even like it's the first time we've seen this. This is now the second iteration of this whole shield popping situation. So I don't know. Sometimes you just get a player base that is just not getting it. So anyways, with that said, this is the Corrupted Strike. As you saw, we were in the Ascendant Realm briefly, and the way this strike more or less works is we'll be in the Dreaming City and in the Ascendant Realm throughout it, and the final boss fight will do time in both realms, so that's kind of cool. This is just considered a tedious strike, kind of at best, because if you are not going to knock out these shielded enemies real quick when they first spawn in, it can take a little bit of time. And then the amount of platforming in the strike isn't overly complicated or anything, but it's still a good amount of platforming for what feels like almost unnecessary filling, if you will. So that being said, I got a question for you all. I'm on my Hunter. My Hunter has this weapon configuration. Now, I know some players who will, whenever they go on to a character, they constantly swap gear to the characters if they can't have multiples. Obviously, you can have multiple exotics, or if you get the same role or craft the same weapon more than once, you can do that. But for me, I don't tend to run the same loadout on my three characters. My Warlock is my main. My Warlock has the build that gets what I want, the alpha pick of all my weapon combinations pretty much. The Titan has its combination of what kind of works, and I feel thematic, so I tend to run auto rifles and not so much SMGs on the Titan. I should, but I tend to run auto rifles there a lot, and then kind of like second pick. And the hunter doesn't get the scrap. The hunter gets things that are very much in line with whatever the build I'm going for my hunter is. And I gave my hunter Leviathan's Breath because it just seemed fitting with, you know, having what the exotic that armor that helps with bows, even though I'm not using it. In any case, my point is that I don't constantly shift gear over the characters. Now, I will shift divinity around, stuff like that. When I can easily build another one, I just shift it because power-wise it's already up there, so why have to infuse a second or a third? But I'm curious what you all do. In any case, back to the strike at hand. This is just kind of a progression section, killing Hive Knights and Shriekers. And we get to the kind of second encounter, if you will, of this strike. In the Temple of Ilan. We're going to be torn here between the two realms. Kind of Castaway, I think it's called. And this happens for as long as the two yellow bar ogres are up. Now, what I typically like to do is I like to leave the yellow bar alive in the normal realm, and in the Ascendant Plane, I like to nuke down the ogre as fast as possible. Now, one thing I always forget about is the fact that the champion does spawn in here, and if you don't kill that champion before you kill the ogre, I believe you lose the opportunity to. Unfortunately, it's one of those things, you know, for platinum rewards, you got to keep in mind where champion spawn locations are. Anyways, the reason why I like being in the normal realm to kill the final ogre is we have to come back in here anyway, or more or less, or we jump through a portal, then continue on through the we continue on in the Dreaming City itself proper. And I haven't tested this because I've always made sure we kill the ogre in the Ascendant Plane ASAP. Is they used to, when you kill the ogre in the Ascendant Plane, have a bunch of Shriekers spawn in, and you have to kind of dodge them and kill them, whatever else. So I always dislike dealing with that. But once you kill both ogres, your respawn restricted zone goes away, and you get to progress through the strike some more in the Dreaming City. This area you could easily run through. It's got a bunch of taken enemies, but killing them isn't the hardest thing in the world to do. And, you know, got to get that score up, right, in certain instances. So here we are. I haven't talked too much about champions, but clearly they're here. Having Arc with Overload Unstoppable is a really good thing to have, because you're going to be jolting and blinding targets without even trying half the time, and both those modifiers will stun one of those two champion types. So that's very handy. As you can see, outside of nearly killing myself because I thought I was inside the shield when I threw the grenade, this build is high energy and a lot of fun, and this is that build that I said I would do if I were a New Light type of situation. The only difference between what we're looking at here and what we saw in the New Light Basics video, if you saw it, check it out if you haven't. The only difference here is that we're running Assassin's Cowl. That's really it. The abilities, aspects, fragments, all the same. So, very potent build. The Assassin's Cowl ability to go invisible on a power melee kill or a finisher is really handy. So in this Ascendant Plane section, we have to basically do precise falling. It's not really platforming so much as falling into this portal. You can get booped around and die up there. I say up there in the Ascendant Plane section. It's it can be kind of annoying, especially if it's your first time through for the first few times. But now we're back to more platforming. This is typically a platform we would see in the Ascendant realm, like in those Ascendant Challenge things in the Dreaming City itself. Only we're doing it in the Dreaming City space, so that's kind of cool. It's just the visuals are different. Visually, I do like the Dreaming City, but in this strike, the amount of what we're doing in terms of just platforming around in what I call kind of big space, not dead space or empty space, because there's enemies here, but it's just a big space where it just lends to the strike feeling tedious, right? We're not even 10 minutes in, but in playing through this, it felt like it took longer than the time it actually takes to get to the boss, just from having to do this consistent kind of going through large spaces. Now, going through large spaces isn't a bad thing, I just think it's the way in which we progress and the constant bouncing in and out of the Ascendant Realm, which is cool, but also lends to some issue in terms of a tedious feeling at times. Anyways, we are approaching the boss fight. Now this boss is health gated, and I feel like the health gating is stronger now than it used to be, because you used to be able to, and maybe you still can, it's just a shorter or a tighter window, you used to be able to outright nuke the boss to death in this first area. But the boss has a health gate where it'll go back with its immune shield, and then at around half health or so, it'll disappear and we have to chase it. This uses the whole relic thing we were taught in the elevator, so if you have a team that's match made and struggled with the elevator section, you might want to take the lead on this one. A whole bunch of Taken will spawn in. It is a Taken strike after all. And the relics spawn on either side of the room, typically opposite where the boss is, Cydia. So, just some food for thought. But, as we will see, you can very much just power up the ball, throw it at the boss, and it'll break the shield instantly, as opposed to needing more than one. The boss's health isn't really that high, so you can do crazy damage to Cydia very quickly. It's just a case of going immune and then having it around half health or so, a hard immune where we have to pursue. And I don't know if it's possible to nuke the boss to death prior to that hard health gating happening anymore. Now we have to platform to get the relic, but we have these debris fields coming in, and my fire team went and died on me, so I'm the last guardian standing, and they did it when I was absolute or critical, which is very dangerous. But thankfully the power melee jolt stuff and assassin's cowl had me healed, so even though it's no longer last guardian standing, I was able to just get some breathing room by being invisible, and that one arc grenade with all that jolting was just fantastic. So if they were still dead, I would have been able to revive them, no problem. I just needed to get that health and that invisibility from Assassin's Cowl, which is like why I like running it with this arc build. Anyways, a bit of fun there. So this boss fight, I don't mind a boss fight quote-unquote dragging on, but what makes this section of the boss fight both interesting in a good way and also leads to the feeling of a drag perhaps is the big room and having to jump around it and having these fields of debris coming in. So we're supposed to pursue Cydia through that portal, and I eventually do that, but I was trying to get the fire team member up here, and I realized that by the time I get there, they're going to be able to self-revive anyway, or just, respawn basically. So I figured, let me just quickly deal with some ads to kind of help them out to get through, and then just go and pursue my teammate. Now the teammate didn't really make it very far in all this. They were playing it safe in the other room, because we go to the Ascendant Plane here. And more platforming. You can see what I was saying. So here we have to kill Hive Knights to make Cydia, retreat towards the final area we can actually fight her. And I don't remember being hit so hard by Cydia's blast before, but that was basically a one-hit kill where I feel like it really shouldn't have, but it did, so whatever. Anyways, we can't actually hurt Cydia in this section. We have to pursue, and we have to force her to evade by killing those Hive Knights. So we do that with more platforming, dodging the debris, kind of flinging itself through the Ascendant Realm. And I don't want to quote-unquote waste Leviathan's Breath shot on just some Vandals. I was really hoping to get a Knight in sight to just hit them for tremendous damage, because Leviathan's Breath hits like a Mack truck. So here are the Knights, and once they're dead, we get to progress onward. So going towards the final boss room fight area, this one's a lot more perilous. It's a smaller platform with death pits all around, and it's done like a ring. So you can see there's like a little Taken Blight in the center. You can fall down there and get knocked around and die. You have this little ring around the outside, and the boss in the center to start off with. And you can see just how fast you can actually nuke Cydia down. Technically, she should go immune one more time, but we're able to, I guess, beat the outright timer to go ahead and just nuke Cydia down like we do right here, and the strike. So all in all, not too bad. Basically like 15 minutes just about to do this strike on a hero level Nightfall. With competent match-made fire team members, I've had this strike go so much worse, with people constantly dying and not understanding what to do with the relics. So that's the problem. This is a strike that kind of showcases the issue of why certain things won't just become match-made, like dungeons. You do need to know the mechanics, and this strike's mechanic is very straightforward, but players still have an issue with it. In any case, that's been the Corrupted. What are your thoughts of this strike? Did you enjoy it? Do you not enjoy playing it? Share it all in the comment section down below. And don't forget to also commend your fellow Guardians. And until next time, stay frosty.